This lesson for the Corning Project class will discuss the power of negation. We'll be looking at the negative particle. It's not one of the 8 parts of speech. It's just a particle, literally. We'll look at how powerful that is. We'll look at discuss the term entropy, which refers to how disorder increases and amplifies. Then we'll discuss the increased or accelerated decay rate that is taught in the Bible. And then, of course, I'll come from the vantage point of a man who practiced what he preached, named Dr. John Penn. So let's go look at Genesis 2:17 in our Hebrew. And this is just a fragment. So I'll just put here a fragment since that's what we're discussing. And this is the message that was given. We have Moth, and then we have, there we go, Tamuth. There we go, Tamuth. And this is the Hebrew, of course, but this is is a cal infinitive absolute. And I'm going to place here in parentheses the word by. So dying, this is cal imperfect second masculine singular. You will die. This is what God told Adam. So we've got information here about that. So we're good. There. So dying, by dying you will die. Now in the Septuagint, I'll just put that there. We have this word apothon, aisthe, and then we have our familiar word. You notice thon there in the noun, then you notice here in the verb, thon, to. So here by death. I only put that in parentheses because it's with or by. It's not locative because we don't have the preposition in, so I'm going to leave it consistent with that. So this is actually future indicative middle, but it's second person plural, which is interesting because so the Septuagint does not agree there, which the author of the Septuagint is not here, so we really can't take issue with him. So it says, you all will die for yourselves by death. And notice the middle voice shows the result and consequence of one's own actions. So now let's go to Genesis 3:4, and let's go to this, the negative particle, lo. This is not. We have moth again. Moth. There we go. Moth. Let me make sure I got this done right. So we have moth, but then we have this it changes form. Muth. Timuth. Un. There we go. Now this is I'll just write it. I can't help you by writing it. Paragogic noon. And only appears at the end of finite verbs, and I never studied what that's about. So here we have the cal imperfect. There, cal imperfect, and yes, and this is second person plural. There we go. And this is again the cal infinitive absolute. So by dying and then not, of course. So you notice what was added here, just the negative particle, which is why when you study the word sin in the New Testament, you'll see the alpha privative, that alpha, as some people say, it's the negative particle that's prefixed to the word martyr, which is testimony. So negate the testimony. So here you have the negation of what God said. And then we have again, we'll repeat this, apos on aesthe. And then he just put this negative particle here. See that? There it is. There it is, a negative particle. Here it is. He said, not you all will not die for yourselves. And then we have this, it repeats here, thanato, by death. Now notice the power of that negation. That's why when I use text in the New Testament where Jesus says, speaking of believers, that they absolutely might not die, perish for themselves as a result of their own action. Jesus is removing what was true of Adam. Adam, it was evitable, not inevitable, that he would do that. So now that we have this written out, we see the power of negation. Let's talk about, as I said, entropy. Entropy is somewhat like a superordinate category. Let's say A, accelerated decay rates might be part of that. However, entropy is talking about, is from our word apolemi, where the form of something's being lost and removed. That's fascinating study in the Bible. So we can look now at a ratio that should be of great interest to all of us. You remember in the young versus old earth banter, much good could come out of it. And if you're willing to research it, and we know that people have moved from old earth to young and young to old and vice versa, but that really isn't the full expression. One side, neither side of that same coin is communicating the fullness of it. But we're talking now about, let's say, Psalm 90, and we'll just move here. First of all, we know Adam, it was endless life. And then we saw God judge him 1,000 years, his lifespan. So he went from endless life to now 1,000 year, and he died at 930. And of course, we received the balance of 70 years that Adam didn't consume. If you go look at Psalm 90, we have been given 70 years, and with strength more. So that's quite a blessing. And then now where we're at today is 10 times quicker or more, 10 times faster. So you can see what we have here is a very severe acceleration of decay, as you could notice that we're incurring the same amount of decay, just more quickly. So in a year's time, for example, we decay 10 times faster than those prior to the flood. So 1,000-year-old man, hypothetically from the past, and 100-year-old man today, you could attend their funeral and you would not notice which one was 1,000 and which one was 100, because they decayed slower. We decay faster, but the same amount of decay is there. So that's a very simple expression that really wouldn't be difficult to appreciate. The message Dr. John Penn, the late Dr. John Penn, was communicating was the urgency, because I won't tell you what he would have said if he could say something to you today. I'll tell you what he did say is, for example, in 2015 until now 2025, he was working on one book, and it's called Jesus Christ and the Planet Earth. And he would often say, I want to finish this book before I lay down. That was his way of describing his death, before I lay down. So he went on until now. He finished books, nine books in this, if you will, within this period. So in 9 years, he completed 9 books. So as you notice, his productivity was increasing as the severity of decay, because we do seem to incur age more severely as we come to the end of life. Let's say in the last decade, if you're highly favored to and have strength to live that long. He lived to 90 years old. Our oldest Bible school in Arkansas is 90 years old, celebrated that. So he finished well, but the urgency there and the severity of uh, life is the message. And what did he do? Well, he denied himself, remained occupied with his work, and of course, he studied it. And well, I'll just write it out. The argument, Psalm 90, for example, says to number our days, number our days. And that's what he did. And again, as I will just say very briefly here, that simple elementary measure of the severity of sin and death and how it's accelerating was to show that ratio of 6,250 chronological years at 12 hours a day. You remember Jesus said there's only 12 hours in the day for a person to work, and he was wanting to show the urgency and the need to remain occupied, not preoccupied, at 12 hours a night. That was all we did, just took the 1 day to 1,000 years, 1 day to 1,000 years. Where would you get a ratio that works so well? And then 1,000 years to 1 day. But you'll miss the point if you don't notice the value of life. For example, the lesson for Adam, for example, that we learn in the garden, there's always questions about, well, God knew that Adam would eat from that. And again, we've already studied exhaustively that what God knew doesn't change or negate what's true. He did not command Adam to eat from the tree. And what Adam was finite and mutable. That is, he could obey, but as we were trained so well, God does not decree our choices, our actions, rather the consequences. And here's the consequences. So what we did was under the guidance of Dr. Penn, 360 days. I'll wrap it up, and that equaled 4.5 million days times 1,000 years equal 4.5 billion years. And the controversy is really more incidental to the severity of the message. Dr. John Penn was one of the few men I knew who was resilient to the noise around him. Again, the severity of the accelerated decay rate, the urgency of the moment, the message of Jesus. You only have 12 hours in the day to work. Get your work done. He's the one that taught us years and years and years ago, and I still say it. I'm not as concerned about my final, when I lay down, my death, as much as I am with having my work done. So you can see here that 4.5 billion years, that would be the compounded geological decay. That's quite a bit. And we notice then we come back this direction, 4.5 billion years, and we multiply that by 1,000 days, which was approximately 2.78 360-day years. And it's remarkable what that gave us, which was 12.5 billion geological geodecay, the compounded amount. As I've said before, and as we like to say, when Einstein was asked what was the most powerful force in the universe, he said compound interest. And whether he said it or not, I just know it's touted. And of course, we noticed how close that is, approximately the value of E, which is 2.7182828459045, and that's as far as I ever cared. So this is a man who practiced what he preached, and if you were to receive and get it and take it seriously, your life that God's given you, your creator, and the life he's given you, and what he's called you to do, and what he's given you, he's entrusted you a family, then be the head of that household, be the father to the children, a husband to the wife, be in a New Testament church, be a brother in the covenant, be in an ecclesia, come out from all that would otherwise diminish the glory of God and remove the good from others and deny it, and participate in the ultimate intention of Christ for all of his sheep, to be in a flock under his shepherdship, to be a body under his headship, to be in his Father's house of the living God, the temple of the Holy Spirit, under the headship and direction of Jesus Christ, the master of the house. So let me back out of the way and let you look at it. It's really it's obvious, like someone once said, it's obvious now that you showed me. But everyone can get the fact that Adam here had endless life. His was then reduced, Adam again, to 1,000, and then let's just say Adam's children. And we are, unlike those who advocate evolution, we don't have a non-existent ancestor from which we descended. We are children of Adam, and thus we live. And few, as I will just end again, many don't make it to 1 year old, and most of us will never see the century mark, 100. So life is but a vapor that appears, and while it appears, it's like a mist that's evaporating, and we're like the grass, here today and gone tomorrow. So receive the message of the life, for example, and testimony of men who, like Dr. Penn, practiced what they preached. And when he noticed the urgency, both educationally and experientially, he got to work and accomplished more output in the last decade of his life, which is the fruit of all the previous 80 years. So you have a blessed day and enjoy this lesson.